That's treacherous.
Yeah, I had one of those this morning.
Nah, still not going to try. It's close. It's getting there. It'll work it out.
You want some fire with it?
Nah, God no, I shit my pants.
Oh,
I wasn't going to drop it.
bullshit, he wasn't. You can stand behind me.
Oh, you want me to stand beside you?
Oh, well. So this episode is going to be how to measure a tail shaft,
Okay.
how to measure for a radiator, and how to pull tape off the guard. Welcome back to Backyard Builds.
This week,
We're going to go through how to measure for a tail shaft.
and a radiator.
Both very important things, and the last two main things I really need to buy for the car.
Probably the two last big dollar items.
Yeah.
Tail shaft has to be custom made, obviously, and so does a radiator, because someone wanted all the netties under there and actually wants to drive it on the street.
Yeah.
Good one.
I don't know how we're going to go.
Let's do it.
Let's get it done.
Let's measure a radiator, guys. So, first thing you really need to do, in Zach's case, is know the opening side. So, you've just got to measure. It's very simple. Get a tape measure out. Check the top, check the bottom. Make sure it's parallel. And this one is. We've already written down a measurement.
Yeah, that's not on that one.
It's not on that one. 495. So it's actually a tad wider.
So what you need to do is actually do up drawings for reference. So 495 up the top, 440 tall, and then because I've already spoken to the radiator company that's going to build it, they've asked for pump location for the water pump, so we can try and maximize the amount of
Volumetric efficiency and surface area, because that's got all the horse torques and this is not big enough.
Yep. So we've got three main things going against us with this motor: compression, converter, diff gear.
Horse torques.
Heavy foot.
Just show that yours is that size 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spins bearings pretty well. So
Let's hope it doesn't.
now we've got the opening measured. How would you measure the distance from the opening back to the pump?
So from the opening back to the pump, go and get yourself a combination square or a slide square, however you want to call it.
That's up to you.
I've got a 600mm steel ruler. And all I'm going to do is sit that across our opening. There is a little puck there, and then just move my ruler down, tighten it up. And we've got 120, which I think is what we wrote down last night.
125.
125 last night. Probably because I didn't measure to the button.
You push the button in because the button's rubber.
Yes, it sounds like something I would do. It's a bit right. 120, 125 isn't going to be the end of the world for this, because they're going to give it plenty of clearance.
So we've also done a drawing of the top view, and we've used the front left-hand corner, or the driver's side rail, as our datum.
That's our 0, 0,
for that reference.
0.
So the more information you can give the radiator mob,
The better.
the better it's going to be.
So what we did to work out where the pump was in location to the rails and to the opening. Look here.
I haven't painted that bit.
I just measured off the side of the rail to the opening, which was 122.
Yep.
So all the measurements we've got to work on now, we're just going to add 122 mils, which is fairly straightforward, I think.
Yep.
So first measurement we did last night, just slide that out a little bit more. Just with my third arm. because we needed to work out where the side of the pump was.
So it gives us our measurement where the two cross over.
Yeah, so it was about 168 is what we determined.
Yep.
167, so it just sat a little bit up to one side, just gave it a bit more clearance. We know the diameter of that is about 100 mil, 4 inches for our international viewers on the Imperial system. So 267 that way, so we just wrote down 268, again, just to give us a little bit more space.
Yep.
I then measured...
You measured between the rails?
Yes.
So, with radiators, there's actually quite a few options on style and configuration.
There's just not a lot of options for this.
No.
There's actually no options
For this.
You get a stock or a stock.
So you can have like top tank, bottom tank scenario, or end tanks, which would be a crossflow, which from discussions I've actually had today is what we're going to end up with, is a crossflow rad. So by measuring between the rails here.
So this measures at 683. So we're just going to call it 680 because we obviously don't want it to touch the rails. We just want it to
Tuck in a little bit.
just tuck in a little bit. You got to remember, clearance is everything. You don't need to do the old big biro test, like just measure it properly.
Measure it with a roll of numbers or a steel rule.
Yeah, please.
So, other advantages here is obviously that Mazier's pump. It's got a grommet in it, so we can have outlets on either side.
Yeah, there's a
plug in one side, and we've got to get an outlet for the other. Again, after conversations with the radiator builder today, he's told me to go to -20. We'll see. We'll see how we go.
That's big.
-20 top and bottom hose. I'll be able to get a fitting that goes straight to the Maziers, and then we'll just have to make an aluminium top plate.
Well, I'll probably just make a rubber hose to come to there and we'll change over to -20 somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
Because we're not doing a top solid hose.
-20, that'll be flexy.
You'll be flexy, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen it done in hardline. Anyway, we need a height from the bottom of the opening to the underside of the pump, and then we're just going to add another 100 mil because we know that diameter is it's a circle, and if it's not,
There's something wrong with
Look
the
out.
pump.
it's much the same way. I'm just going to hold that right on the edge if I can. It's really good because there's a nice little bump here for me. Not. And I'm actually going to measure to where the wires come out, which is 236. So we can probably give that a little bit of extra space, but the wires, that shouldn't contact the fan or anything.
So you're probably wondering why we're measuring where the pump is. It's because we want to get thermo fans on it. You've got the option of a single 16, but where the pump's actually located, that'd be the back of
It'll be right in the center.
the motor of the pump.
It'll be going brrr, brrr as it fucking runs along the fan.
They will touch. Yeah. So we're actually going to run two 11-inch fans on it, which will give the same volumetric CFM pull as 116, but two 11s.
Yep.
Alright, so that's how to measure for a radiator. Next we'll do tail shaft.
Let's do it.
Apparently it's my shower for dinner. No, thank you.
Oh, come on, mate. You got...
Don't put it on time lapse, eh?
Or do. I don't care. I'll get a roll of numbers.
Mate,
Right.
there's a lot of little things I need to fix up, okay? Stop knocking the dirt out of it.
We need to dust down the track. So what we're going to measure is for the tail shaft.
So I'll insert the form in here, but we're going to use a company called Ultra 9.
That's who we've got a few diffs off so far.
Yep.
Mostly supply for us, but they do.
Well, that's where this diff is from.
Yeah, but they do everything. They'll custom make you one to order, or.
Is that
Yeah.
Domino sacks?
Sure is.
Yes.
Cut. Dinner time.
Don't get the pizza sacks.
What do you guys having?
What do you got there?
This is my dinner. What do you guys having?
Ultimate pepperoni, eh?
50% more pepperoni, just on 50% less space.
She's a bloody small pizza.
It's an ultimate, mate.
Insert photo of Saxon crosses on the mower with the pizza. Family size. Alright, we're back from a short intermission from dinner.
We're going to measure up the tail shaft again.
So as we said, we're going to use a company called Ultra 9. So on their website, they actually have a form with a few key details you've got to fill out. So
one being a length, you need the spline count on the yoke.
And then stick out of the
yoke. Or the
output shaft.
Output shaft, that's the correct one.
Yeah.
You also need to know your cap size. So we already know that this cap is a 1350 yoke. Yeah, universal joint. That's the one we're looking for.
1350 uni.
1350 unis. Zach will get the output shaft, the actual yoke this time with 1350 on it as well. So that way he has 1350s front and rear.
Yep.
It's a pretty easy part to get off the shelf. Hardy Spicer makes them like fucking, they're going out of fashion. They're also the most common for a 9-inch. So our first measurement will be from the cap face, which is also the halfway distance of our bearing cap, to the face or the back of the rear extension housing on the trans. The only reason we're going to measure to that and to the seal is because I need an overall length of the space you're working within.
Yeah.
It can't be bigger than that, and it can be smaller, but ideally you want it spot on. So, in a straight line, and I'm going to check it in a few spots just so I have a nice consistent number.
Sax won't reach under and hold
No, it's alright. I've got it.
Standing out there taking surveys.
So, we've got 12. Let's go to the bottom of the cap too. 1273 is our overall. So that's from the very back to the center of the cap. And measure this. Oh, my folks are here now.
Oh.
Lucky we're recording. We've got 28 mil of stick out.
Hey, Mama Stokes.
Hi.
On that output shaft. 28 mil. And I've already counted this, it's 30 spline.
Yep. So the reason why we need to know the stick out from the seal is they actually make the yoke. It's a slip yoke.
It's a slip yoke. It'll be about 6 inches long, and it needs a certain amount of travel because as suspension travels, it's got to have a slip point. And it's got to be able to travel with it.
So at the moment, the car is actually on weight.
It's not actually on the stands.
So it's on the jack.
Well, it's on that stand, but it's not the point.
Yeah. So we've emulated ride height and car weight.
Yep.
Which is going to be the most accurate, or where the car's going to sit most of the time.
You really need to do it at ride height. You can't do it at droop because it's going to make it even longer, and then when you go in, it'll actually bash the end of the rear extension and
It'll push everything
destroy the
forward.
transmission. Forget about putting those Kevlar bands in because they'll be as good as nothing.
Yeah.
So you've got to measure it at ride height or on weight with that. So 1275, 28 mil stick out, 30 spline yoke, 1350 caps. So Zach's going to fill out all the little information on the sheet from Ultra 9 and put it in here.
And then send it to Ultra 9 as well.
Yes. They will send him back a quote. I believe the going price for a new tail shaft these days from Ultra 9, including yoke and manufacturing, is around the $1,300 to $1,400 mark.
$1,450.
For a 3.5 inch shaft.
Yes. So if Sax is still out there,
Yo.
can you pass us that bit of 4 inch under?
Yeah.
So we've got a piece of 4-inch exhaust pipe,
Sure.
4-inch stainless.
Which is about the same size as the yoke, thankfully.
So we can actually sort of sit it where it's going to sit. And we can see that we've got clearance up around the tunnel, up around the sides.
For all of about 3 seconds at the rear until it puts these nice 3 grooves in the tail shaft. But the tunnel will get self-clearance from going.
You're knocking the dust out again.
I'm just helping the self-clearancing. It's obviously way too big at the front, but that's fine. What we more wanted to check was the actual clearance around the tunnel.
So that's 4-inch, and we're only going to go a 3.5-inch shaft.
Yeah, which is going to be more than enough for this car.
So 3.5 chromoly as well.
Yeah, big boy shaft.
Big boy shaft.
Right, so that's how you measure a tail shaft, guys. It's fairly simple, but the measurements do need to be right.
Yeah.
Because if you supply the incorrect measurements, your shaft isn't going to fit for shit.
And I think that's the end of this week's episode. So thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next week on
Backyard Builds.